What if the 2026 World Cup, the largest sporting event ever held in North America, becomes a financial disaster for American cities? What if millions in projected tourism revenue evaporates not because of logistics, not because of capacity, but because of policy? Because new data suggests that international fans are actively avoiding U.S. host cities and redirecting their travel plans to Canada and Mexico instead. Hotels are reporting mass cancellations. Airlines are rerouting bookings. Tourism officials are projecting losses in the hundreds of millions. This is no longer about sports. This is about whether political decisions are costing American cities the economic opportunity of a generation. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is a joint hosting effort between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Matches will be played across multiple cities in all three countries. For years, American host cities have anticipated an economic windfall. Hotels, restaurants, transportation networks, and local businesses prepared for an influx of international visitors. Projections estimated billions in revenue. Infrastructure was upgraded. Marketing campaigns were launched. Entire economic strategies were built around World Cup tourism. But now, months before the tournament begins, a troubling pattern is emerging. International fans are canceling reservations in American cities and rebooking in Canadian and Mexican venues. Travel agencies report a significant shift in demand. According to industry data, searches for accommodations in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal have surged, while searches for U.S. cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Miami have dropped. This is not a marginal trend. This is a structural redirection of tourism flows. The timing is not coincidental. This shift began accelerating after a series of Trump administration policy announcements that heightened concerns among international travelers. Stricter visa enforcement, immigration crackdowns, unpredictable border policies, and inflammatory rhetoric about foreign nationals created an atmosphere of uncertainty. For many international fans, the question became simple. Why risk complications, delays, or hostility when safer and more welcoming alternatives exist across the border? Travel is discretionary. When uncertainty increases, demand shifts, and in this case, demand is shifting away from the United States. Hotel chains in major U.S. host cities are now facing a problem they did not anticipate. Blocks of rooms reserved years in advance are being canceled. According to reports from the hospitality industry, cancellation rates in U.S. World Cup host cities have climbed significantly compared to pre-tournament projections. Some properties are seeing double-digit percentage drops in confirmed international bookings. This is not anecdotal. This is measurable economic impact. One major hotel association reported that international group bookings for World Cup dates in U.S. cities are down by as much as 20% compared to initial forecasts. Meanwhile, Canadian properties in World Cup host cities are experiencing the opposite trend. Occupancy rates are climbing, prices are rising, availability is tightening. The economic benefit that was supposed to flow into American cities is being captured by Canadian competitors instead. Airlines are responding to the same dynamic. Flight bookings to Canadian cities during World Cup dates have increased, while bookings to certain U.S. cities have softened. Some carriers have quietly adjusted capacity, adding seats on routes to Toronto and Vancouver while reducing frequency to U.S. destinations. This is a direct market response. When demand moves, supply follows. And right now, demand is moving north. Tourism officials in U.S. host cities are now confronting a reality they did not plan for. The World Cup was supposed to be an economic catalyst. It was supposed to generate jobs, fill hotels, boost restaurants, and create long-term visibility for American cities on the global stage. Instead, it is turning into a case study in how policy uncertainty undermines economic opportunity. The issue is not that the matches will not happen. The infrastructure is ready. The stadiums are prepared. The games will proceed. The issue is that the economic multiplier effect, the secondary spending that makes mega events financially transformative, is being diminished. International tourists do not just buy tickets. They book hotels for multiple nights, they eat at restaurants, they shop, They use transportation, they extend their trips, they spend money across the local economy. When that spending shifts to another country, the impact is immediate and measurable. Some U.S. mayors and tourism boards are now openly expressing concern. Officials in cities like Seattle, Philadelphia, and Atlanta have begun privately acknowledging that international visitor projections are being revised downward. Public statements remain optimistic, but internal discussions reflect a growing awareness that the anticipated revenue boost may fall short of expectations. This is not just a hospitality problem. This is a broader competitiveness problem. When international travelers choose to avoid the United States because of perceived policy risk, it signals something deeper. It signals a loss of soft power. It signals reputational damage. It signals that America is no longer seen as the default destination, even for events it is hosting. The contrast with Canada is stark. Canadian host cities are benefiting not only from proximity, but from perception. Canada is viewed as stable, welcoming, and predictable. Its immigration policies are clear. Its visa processes are functional. Its political environment is less volatile. For international fans planning expensive, once-in-a-lifetime trips, those factors matter. And when given a choice between comparable World Cup experiences, many are choosing the path of least resistance. This dynamic exposes a fundamental tension in Trump-era policy. The administration has prioritized enforcement and control. It has framed border security and immigration restriction as strength. But strength that drives away customers is not strategic. It is self-defeating. When businesses lose revenue because policy creates friction, that is not protection. That is economic damage. What makes this particularly damaging is that it was avoidable. The World Cup is a known event. The dates have been set for years. The economic opportunity was quantified. U.S. host cities invested in infrastructure, marketing, and preparation. All of that investment was based on the assumption that international visitors would come. But policy decisions made that assumption riskier, and now the consequences are becoming visible. Republican officials in affected cities are not publicly criticizing the administration, but privately, frustration is mounting. Economic development officers who spent years preparing for this event are now managing downward revised projections. Hotel operators who invested in expansions are facing softer demand than anticipated. Small business owners who planned staffing and inventory around World Cup crowds are now uncertain. This is not a partisan issue. This is a revenue issue. When tourism dollars leave the country, local governments lose tax revenue. When hotels operate below capacity, employment suffers. When restaurants see fewer customers, margins shrink. These are real-world consequences, and they fall on cities regardless of their political alignment. The broader strategic implication is even more concerning. The 2026 World Cup was supposed to be a showcase. It was supposed to demonstrate American organizational capacity, hospitality, and global engagement. It was supposed to build goodwill. It was supposed to position the United States as a premier destination for future mega events. Instead, it is becoming a case study in how uncertainty drives economic opportunity elsewhere. Canada is not winning this competition through aggressive tactics. It is winning by default. By maintaining stable policies, predictable processes, and welcoming messaging, Canadian cities are capturing economic activity that would have otherwise flowed south. This is not luck. This is the result of strategic consistency. For Trump, this presents a political problem that does not fit his narrative. He has framed his immigration and border policies as protecting American workers and strengthening the economy. But when those same policies cost American cities hundreds of millions in tourism revenue, the narrative collapses. Protectionism that drives away customers is not strength. It is miscalculation. The administration will likely dismiss these reports as exaggerated or politically motivated. Officials may claim that any revenue loss is marginal or that security concerns justify the trade-off. But the data tells a different story. Hotel cancellations are measurable. Flight bookings are tracked. Tourism projections are quantified. This is not speculation. This is economic reality. American host cities now face a choice. They can continue to operate under the assumption that international visitors will come despite policy uncertainty, or they can adjust their strategies and prepare for a more domestic-focused event. Either way, the World Cup they are hosting will not deliver the economic impact they anticipated. The 2026 World Cup was supposed to be an opportunity. Instead, it is becoming evidence of how policy decisions create unintended economic consequences. Trump's approach to immigration and border security may resonate politically with certain constituencies, but it is costing American cities revenue. And that cost is not abstract. It is quantified in canceled hotel rooms, rerouted flights, and lost tax revenue. Canada's gain is America's loss. And that shift happened not because of Canadian aggression, but because of American policy. The World Cup will proceed, the games will be played, but the economic story is already being written. And it is a story of missed opportunity, driven by choices that prioritized messaging over economic reality. If you value fact-based analysis and accountability in political and economic coverage, subscribe to Canada Today. We track power, consequences, and real-world outcomes. Because sometimes the biggest losses are not the ones that make headlines. They are the ones that show up in revenue reports months later.